diagnosed with breast cancer.
Yeah. I need people to pray for me. I have amazing friends that I felt like kind of stormed the heavens for me and was like, Lord, let this be good. Let this be the end of it. I didn't want people to see me cry. I didn't want to seem weak. I wanted to seem like I was trusting God in this. He was going to be my father. Like I had all these weird spiritual things, right? It could have been such a horrible scenario, and yet God preserved me, and God worked in this man to remove it. All healing is God's healing, and it just happens in different ways. That's what I think.
The first female.
Really?
Yes.
That's nothing to be proud of.
Why?
Austin, I'm your first female?
Yes.
Moving on.
What? I thought this would be an exciting thing.
You should have had more female. For real, I'm your first female. I felt like you interviewed somebody that...
I mean, I've had... well, for people who don't know, I did the podcast years and years ago, and I did like 40-something episodes, and then I stopped for a few years, and I just brought it back this year.
And this year you've had no females but me.
Correcto.
Well, I hope we correct that.
Well, Mom, we were just talking about this beforehand, and you said you appreciate it because you were like, well, why don't you have more females? And I'm like, well, I don't hit up a bunch of ladies all the time and go, hey, you want to chop it up?
That's true.
It's not that I'm opposed to it. It's just...
Right. I understand.
Okay.
I understand that.
Okay.
I get that.
You also bought me this Coca-Cola Zero Oreo.
Yes, I did.
And you said you said this is a trend right now?
Well, it is on TikTok.
Okay. How often are you on TikTok?
I'm on it. I'm not going to even lie. Every day.
Okay. How much do you want me to pour you?
No, that's it.
What?
I just want to
Mom,
taste.
That's nothing.
It's a taste.
Well, I barely started pouring. You said, no.
Okay, you can give me a tiny bit.
Okay, if that's all you want.
That's all I want.
Okay.
Okay, let's taste it together.
Okay.
Cheers.
Okay.
What do you think?
Wow.
Tastes like an Oreo, huh?
It does. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It feels more like I'm drinking a candy.
I know.
Or, a cookie.
Yeah. Smell it. Smells like an Oreo.
Wow.
Don't.
I mean, kinda.
It smells like an Oreo.
I mean, kinda, but yeah. Do you not like it? Because you kind of...
I don't love it.
You wouldn't drink it over just regular Coke Zero?
No.
It's kind of fun, though.
Coke Zero. Yeah, it's like a fun thing to try.
Mm-hmm.
And I had one for Nolan. I gave one to Abby and Landon. Like everybody.
So you just bought a bunch of them?
Well, I bought one for each one of you guys to share as a family.
Wow, that is special.
Yeah.
You were saying right before we hit record that there's a lot of actually interesting things about you.
I think so.
Why do you name one or two of them?
I'm your mom.
Yeah.
30 years ago, I gave birth to you.
Mm-hmm.
6 pounds, 4 ounces, 19 inches long, born at 3:46, right in time for Oprah, is what I used to tell people. Yeah. And that is because I've met Oprah. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say we're friends.
How did you meet her?
I went to her show.
But did you actually, shake hands with her?
Yeah.
Okay.
But, so a little interesting fact. I kind of get very quiet when I meet someone famous.
Really?
Or I make a fool of myself. So when I saw her, I was so like, oh, it's Oprah, that I just stood there. Katie, your aunt, was with me. Yeah. She talked to Oprah the whole time. And I was like this.
If you could go back, let me hear, I'm going to be Oprah.
Yeah.
And show me how you would do it.
Hi, Oprah. I'm Lisa Molt. And even though you don't know me, I've known you for years. And
Great.
I'm a fan.
I'm so glad to meet you.
Right. I've also met Christine Kane.
I don't know who that is, but that sounds amazing. Oh, sorry, I was pretending it was still Oprah.
Oh!
Yeah.
Anyways, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so it's October 21st.
Yes, it is.
On the day of recording this.
Yes.
I'll try to get this out tomorrow, so it's not too far.
Oh.
Yeah. And it's almost Halloween. Mm-hmm. And it's almost the election. Mm-hmm. And
you're so funny, Austin.
And you told me no. So but this time of the year, the topic of fear comes up, but fear in different ways, because
Right.
obviously fear is not a bad thing in and of itself.
Right.
Right? Just like anxiety is a good or bad thing.
Right.
If you see a bear in the woods, they always say you should have anxiety. That's a good thing.
Right.
You
Right.
shouldn't be like, oh, it's no big deal.
Right.
If there's certain things you should be afraid of, but certain things you should not be afraid of.
True.
But one of the things we're going to talk about, because you apparently have been on a podcast circuit.
No, I am not.
You've been on a lot of
Austin, don't say that
podcasts?
on your podcast. No.
What do you mean?
I was on a friend's podcast, but we don't need to bring that up. This is so
Okay.
awkward. No.
Why is this awkward?
Well, I'm not like famous.
I was just
or
joking
anything.
that we've been on
Sure.
some podcasts.
Sure.
Okay, wow. And but how long have you been now? For people who don't know,
Yeah.
you were diagnosed with breast cancer.
Yeah.
And how long have you been cancer free?
It will be a year in. Oh no, it's been a year. It's been a year. 1 year.
Okay.
My last surgery was August 17th.
Oh yeah, on my birthday.
And then I received the report a couple weeks later, and then I began radiation after that. So it's been a year, though, that I've been cancer-free. At 6 months, they check you, and I was cleared. There was nothing going on, which was a good sign. You don't want anything going on. So I will be checked every 6 months. So my next check will be...
Is that how they do it for all people who have had cancer? That you get checked 6 months for...
I don't know if it's all people.
Or maybe it just depends
Maybe.
on the doctor or something.
No, I think it depends on the type. Maybe I really don't know. I don't want to know, to be honest. I don't want to be an expert in that, but I do know it's 6 months.
You go every 6 months? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah. So my next one will be December.
Okay.
So yeah.
Was fear the biggest thing you struggled with during the beginning journey of finding out and talking to doctors? Or would you say, no, it was more worry and anxiety, or it was more this or that? What was the biggest struggle?
I think, it's almost like a blur. Because when I received the report, I just felt like almost like I just checked out, and the doctor was like, this is how I felt. Like he was like talking, and I looked over at your dad as he's talking.
Did you find out from just a regular checkup? Or did you go in
No.
because something was abnormal?
Nope, it was my regular checkup, but I was called back, which is normal.
Sure.
And then, not normal for me.
Sure.
And so I was called back, and then from there, it went from another test to a biopsy to. So there was gradually, and then on my K chart, I kept watching it, waiting for the report. And when I got the report, it said carcinoma, and I was like, that's cancer. And so I called the office, and they had me come in, and so then he kind of read over the report. And as he was reading the report, I just checked out, looked over at your dad, and I said, let's go. I don't want to hear anymore. And your dad was like, we can't leave. We have to hear what he has to say. I said, I just don't want to. So
Did you leave or stay?
we stayed, but I just could
Didn't want
not.
to.
Yeah, I just was checked out. I
Yeah.
felt like my skin, I was just like, get me out of here. Just unreal. So I think that worry, it's overwhelming. So as things come up, like I was worried, I had anxiety. I didn't know what this meant. I didn't know, he said things like, if you're going to have cancer, this is the best one. I'm like, I don't believe there's really any kind of good cancer. So I was kind of like, okay, well, I think I would rather not have any than to have. So there was mixed reports. I think when I went in to see my surgeon, he brought the most peace medically to me. So he was a man of faith, and I just really appreciated him. But yeah. Worry, anxiety, fear, all of those things, all those things hit me. And until I had a friend say the worst part's going to be until you start getting into treatment and you start doing something about it. Like just that in between, like you're just waiting is the hardest part. And I would agree.
Why is it the hardest part? Just because feels like you're sitting there with anticipation, or what?
Yeah, you're like sitting there waiting for something to, you've got things to do, but you're not there yet. So
Have you heard of the term iPad kids? This is relevant to what you were saying.
yeah, no.
It's like kids who grow up on iPads
Yeah.
and like they don't do anything outside, and they just, like they know how to work all the technology.
Yeah.
And like they have to be constantly stimulated in front of a screen the whole time. My wife sent me a video like 2-3 days ago, and the video was like when your husband's an iPad husband, and the guy's like listening to YouTube videos while he's cooking and stuff like that, and my wife was like, "This is you," and and so it's true. And so she didn't call me out. She mentioned yesterday, as I was cleaning up, I listened to podcasts and I listened to news stuff, political stuff, debates, all the time.
Yeah.
When I'm mowing the grass,
You?
I'm listening to
Okay.
stuff.
Yeah.
When I'm washing dishes. When I'm cooking dinner.
Okay.
When I am walking.
So you don't have a quiet moment with your thoughts.
No. And she's like, "Why don't you just cook this without playing something?" And I go, "Sure." And it was kind of weird.
Yeah.
But
Sometimes it's hard to be in your own thoughts.
well, yeah, but I'm just
I mean,
saying,
not you cooking dinner because you don't. I would assume that's
no, but I'm just saying I get the hard part of just
Yeah.
waiting,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But I would feel like if I was going through something like that, I would want to just distract myself.
Yeah. I think we tried.
Yeah.
It was summer. As soon as we found out we were supposed to go to a retreat, Matt said, "We're going to the retreat." And I was like, "What?" Because
This is when?
this was in June when I found out the report.
And you guys were going to go to a retreat?
We were going to go to a retreat, our church planners retreat, and your dad was like, "We're going. There's nothing. They're going to be calling you, scheduling stuff, but let's just go." And so I was thankful for that. I was thankful for your dad that he was honestly my anchor, and just held me
You're
together.
saying you're thankful he pushed you to go because
Yeah.
so you just didn't sit there.
Right, because what was I going to do?
Right.
Just sit there and wait? They called me when I was at that retreat. They scheduled my blood drawn. They scheduled just all the stuff, getting ready for surgery. I was still like a week out or 2 weeks out for the surgery. So, yeah. So I think we tried to distract myself. So, yeah. Which is, good.
Yeah. I think maybe someone's listening or watching this and they're like, well, I don't have some sort of illness or something, or something like that right now. But I think the tough thing is when people struggle with fear, anxiety, or these depression, and I think the hardest part is when people can't point to something that they feel like is causing it.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's also these stories where.
But don't you think that it always stems from something?
It always stems from something, yes. But it's harder when, not harder, it's difficult when you feel like, if someone's, like I was talking to somebody yesterday, they're like, "I just feel always anxious." I'm like do you mean all the time?
Yeah.
They're like, all the time. And I'm like, well, why? I believe it stems to
from
something.
something, yeah.
But at least in that conversation, like, well, I don't know what it stems from. So I'm like, now maybe they're just kind of we're talking and passing or whatever. But I think people can get in such a habit of, they build these routines or whatever.
Yeah.
And their mental health starts to take a turn.
Yeah.
And it becomes like this lifestyle thing. But I was telling that guy yesterday that my counselor asked me something that I've thought about so hard. He goes, let's take the example of flying. I said, okay. He goes, he goes, I want you to think about this next time you fly. Because I was talking to him about this right before I was flying. He said, ask yourself this question. What if you gave yourself 60 seconds in the middle of anxiety to say, I'm not going to feel anxious? He goes, would you want to? Would it feel weird if you didn't feel anxious? And I was like, I don't even know what that means. And I was on the plane, and I realized if I said, I'm going to decide I'm going to pretend like I'm not anxious, that it felt like something wrong was happening if I felt calm. Mm-hmm. I don't know how to explain it, but it felt like, no, I should be anxious right now. It's bumpy.
Yeah.
And when I talked to him next time, he said, yeah, you don't want to be anxious, but at the same time, it would feel uncomfortable for you to not be anxious in that moment.
Right.
He's like, we have to learn to get you in that uncomfortable position where you're going to let go of the anxiety. Now, you can't just make that decision with anxiety. There's like stuff you have to do.
I think people, though,
Yeah.
Are Christians, like, we don't want to be fearful. And so we almost like, there's no fear that's common to man, but God is faithful and he will deliver me. Like you start quoting scriptures because you really don't want to feel worried, anxious, any of those feelings, right? And I think for me, through my own journey, and this is just me personally, I had moments where I was absolutely worried. I was worried telling each one of you guys. There were certain things that were really heavy on my heart. And I had to just go to God. God, I don't have the strength, and I am fearful, and I am worried. And I felt like God was like, hey, that's okay. Mm-hmm. Don't stay there.
Right.
But that's normal. Right. So when I had those feelings,
right,
I was okay. But I didn't think that I should stay in that mindset. Mm-hmm. So I think if you can get yourself to a place of, not being anxious,
yeah,
I think that's huge.
Well, that is what probably annoys me a lot from like maybe growing up and talking to Christians who went to other churches who were maybe a little bit, well, I'm trying not to sound critical, but they would quote verses or whatever. Yeah. And it felt to me like in the name of quoting the scripture, you act like you don't know how to face reality at the same time.
Right.
And I remember talking to Pastor Bob McGregor about that. And I'll never forget what he told me. He said, Austin, faith is not denying reality.
Right.
It's trusting God with the outcome.
Right.
And so I've held on to that because sometimes I think Christians think that having faith, which you couldn't find anywhere in Scripture that talks about faith this way.
Right.
As in looking at what you're facing and pretending like it's not real.
Right.
Let me tell you a story real quick, actually.
Okay.
I was getting coffee with a pastor probably 7 years ago.
Okay.
I don't know how long ago.
Are we going to name names?
No.
Nah.
I'll tell you if you want, and then I can bleep it out later. How's that? Yeah. It was
Just kidding. That's for the video.
Woo! No. And I sit down with him, and halfway through it, and I'm just trying to get to know him. And I said something, I don't remember what we were talking about. At one point, I said, yeah, I'm just not the most administrative. And he says, no, yeah, you are. And I said,
no, I'm not.
I said, I'm not though. And he says, nope. He goes, you are administrative. And I said, and I knew what he was doing because I talked to people like this. So I thought, I said, how about, let me say it like this. Administration is one of my strengths, but it's my least strong skill set. He said, nope. He goes, I'm going to be your friend, and I'm not going to let you speak things like that over you. You're going to speak life over yourself. You're going to say that you are this, you are that. And I remember sitting across from this guy thinking, you are actually just delusional.
He obviously doesn't know you. Just kidding.
You're actually just delusional.
Yeah.
Like, how you're going to go to the doctor and, man, I got some pain in my back. I think I broke something. And, that's what you're thinking inside. And then he goes,
and
what's
doctor,
wrong?
Nope.
And you go, yeah, no, my back is fine in Jesus' name.
Right.
You
know how I learned, I think.
I want that pastor, when the next time he thinks he has a root canal and he's in pain, for him to just pray it away.
Wow, okay.
No, because it's just so frustrating. I'm talking to this guy.
Right.
And he's like talking down to me like a child and going, no, you're not going to, no, you're not, no, you're not. And I didn't appreciate it.
No.
I'm a little fired up.
A little. But
let me have my orange.
When I was 19, my dad died. And he was sick for a period of time. I remember I was in Bible college, and I remember thinking, I'm okay. I'm okay. And I was like, would quote scriptures, and I didn't want people to see me cry. I didn't want to seem weak. I wanted to seem like I was trusting God in this. He was going to be my father. Like, I had all these weird spiritual things, right? That I put on myself. Nobody put that on. I didn't have a friend saying, like you did.
Right.
And then I've had different scenarios in my life that were rough. But when this came last year, I didn't have it in me to be strong. And I felt like the Lord said, hey, that's okay. And I was like, but I trust you. That's okay. And I remember the verse where it says, in your weakness, I am made strong. And that verse came alive to me because I thought.
But I don't have any weaknesses.
No, you do.
No, I just quoted that passage.
He does.
Yeah.
No, we all do. But I felt like the difference between the 19-year-old Lisa at Bible college when she was going through a really hard time was almost like denial. And I'm going to be a woman of faith. I'm not going to me at 53 being diagnosed was that I understood that I'm a human, that I live in a fallen world. I do serve an almighty God. And even though I feel these things, that's okay. Because that's when he can show himself to me. If I was to act like I always had it together, then where's the strength in that? So this guy has a weird theology. And since this is called Sexy Theology, you can explain to people why that's wrong. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, we kind of already did it to some extent. But I will, at the same time, it's just like, I do, and I know you would say this too, I obviously believe that there's power in our words.
For sure.
And James talks about how life and death is in tongue. Now, what does that mean? We'd have to, that's the next question.
Yeah.
But what that turned into, I think, in some, Pentecostal circles, probably in like the late 1900s, early 2000s, was like this idea. I mean, like the famous Kenneth Copeland tells a story of like how he was in his private helicopter and there was a storm that they weren't able to land, and he commanded all the waves and everything in it, and he claims it stopped within 2 minutes, and he goes, if Jesus can do it, I can do it. And he says, I'm a little God, because I made in His image, and just all. So you take this one thing and you just go so far with it, and it's like I don't think that's what that means.
Right. Because honestly, the kid that was like, you are administrative. Like that's. That
was a pastor.
Okay.
Who was a full-blown adult.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that adult, pastor, that's silly.
It is silly.
Because we're human and we have flaws. And that's okay. Like, I just don't think it's that big of a deal for you not to be administrative.
Yeah. No, I know.
Right? Like, it's just not a big deal.
Yeah.
And I think that it allows other people to come into your life and to give their gifts and to help you administrate. Like, what's wrong with that? Nothing.
Yeah.
People are weird. I mean, people are just weird sometimes. So.
Yeah, I do think that, if God heals somebody instantaneously, miraculously, there's no doctor explanation for it, that's amazing.
Yeah.
If God works through a surgeon, I mean, and maybe that's just common today because it happens all the time. But if you were to think back to like the first time they discovered, oh my gosh, we can actually get rid of this tumor if we do this. And the first time that ever happened, guaranteed the person who got the tumor removed thought that God must have spoke to this man or woman or whatever.
Right.
And this is insane. No one's ever survived this, but I have.
I do feel God.
Yeah, so God works through people in ordinary ways.
Absolutely. I feel God healed me. Right. It took a surgeon 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
But God, I remember my 3rd surgery because he was not getting clear margins. And so...
What does that mean?
Okay, so the cancer kind of has these little arms to spread.
So weird.
Yeah, it's yeah. So they remove the tumor.
Yeah.
But if they don't get the little lines, there's chance of regrowth. So then they go back into surgery. They remove more, and hopefully at that point they've got it all. Well, they did that twice, and when the result comes back, I still had this one little spot where there was like a little arm. So he wanted to go in there a 3rd time, and I remember he walked into my room. And I mean, at this point, we're like really good friends. And so he goes, hey, and he starts telling me this Bible story. And I said, doctor, I just want you to know something. And he's like, okay. I said, I've been praying, and I have a lot of people praying, and I believe everything's God's going to guide you. And I just like all the faith that I had in me to say, this is going to be removed today. And he looks at me, he's like, amen, let's do it. So it could have been such a horrible scenario, and yet God preserved me, and God worked in this man to remove it. Mm-hmm. All healing is God's healing, and it just happens in different ways. Mm-hmm. That's what I think.
That's right. On a separate note,
I
am the only one of your children.
Yeah.
Who has brought you onto their podcast. Why do you think that is?
Because you love me the most? Abby doesn't have a podcast. And Nolan... No, I'm like, I don't know.
Clip it.
No, take that part out.
No.
Take that part out. Austin Molt.
Are you being serious?
Yes. Like, I don't know what to say. I don't want to...
I was just kidding. I was trying to bait you like that.
Let's take it out.
Okay, we'll take it off for sure.
Why are you the only one that's brought me onto the podcast? Are we just moving on from that? Okay, let's move on.
Yeah.
Are we done? No.
With the podcast, no.
Oh, okay, I just didn't know you were looking at so I thought, oh.
No.
Okay.
So, anyways, back to the story.
Yes.
That was the 3rd time you were getting surgery. That's what he said to the doctor. He was a man of faith. He was like, absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. And so you found out after that. Do you find out right away, or do you have to wait for some tests?
You have to wait usually 3 to 4 days. Between my 2nd and 3rd, after the 2nd surgery, I waited almost over a week, and I was just like so anxious because I wanted to know. And then I remember when I found out that he was like, let's try this one more time. I was like, okay, I'm calling my friends. I need people to pray for me. I called my pastor. I called my friends, and I was like, and I have amazing friends that I felt like kind of stormed the heavens for me and was like, Lord, let this be good. Let this be the end of it.
What do you think was the best thing looking back? You're like, man, I'm glad I did this. What was the best thing you did that helped you overcome the fear? Maybe even if it was over time, incrementally.
Yeah. Telling the church.
How come?
I allowed the church to be the church. And I think that I'm really comfortable being Jesus to someone. Right? Like taking you a casserole if you're going through a hard time. I'm going to pray for you. I'm going to, I'm comfortable on that side of the fence. Yeah. I'm not comfortable receiving that from people. And so as soon as I started telling people, I had people saying, no, you shouldn't tell people. People will get weird on you. Just kind of keep it private. And I had a friend that super challenged me. My friend Donna really challenged me. She goes, you should tell your church. And I almost got like upset at her, like,
hold up, Donna.
You don't know. Like, you're not in this situation. And the more that I thought about it, I was like, I'm going to do it. So We did, and I think what that did, it just...
I can't even remember. Did you told them before any of the surgeries, right? Or
No,
I don't remember.
I was in the middle of it.
Okay.
So maybe after the second surgery
Sure.
or something like that. But I just remember, like, I think that when we hide something, sin or anything, I think it still has power. I think when you come public, when you are like, hey, this is where I'm at, I think it just kind of breaks.
Mm-hmm.
And it allows people to be like, I'm
Yeah.
praying for you. And I thought, how foolish of me to not tell people, for people not to pray for me.
Right.
And so I don't regret telling people, and I think it's beautiful how people showed up for me.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I had people, when I go into doctor visits, literally receptionists would be like, I know who you are. My kids go to your church. I'm praying for you.
Yeah.
And I was like, thank you. And then I would have the nurse that was doing the biopsy. She goes, I was at your church for a funeral. I know who you are. You're going to be okay. I had just constant reminders of Jesus showing up for me. And I kept saying, God, I just want a word. I want to make sure I'm going to be okay. And I kept like trying to get this feeling that I was going to be okay. And Jesus kept putting people in my way to remind me that he's with me. And it wasn't till I was in the first operation, and it's overwhelming to get wheeled into the operating room. There's like all these people, and I had a nurse grab my hand, and she said, are you okay that I'm in here? And I look up at her, and I'm kind of loopy because, I'm on some drugs at that point. And I look up at her, and it's Kelsey. And I go...
For those who don't know, a gal who goes to
yeah.
church. Yeah.
And I go, oh, Kelsey, I'm just not even thinking, sir. I'm like, nobody knows I'm in here. Because at that point, we had not told anybody other than you kids.
So she literally just saw you there for the first time and had to put the pieces together.
Yeah. Well, she probably saw my name on the chart when she came in.
Yeah.
And I go, nobody knows I'm here. She goes, that's okay. Are you okay that I'm in here? And I said, yes. Got wheeled out of surgery. I tell your dad, I had the weirdest dream. Kelsey was in the operating room. And he goes, oh, that wasn't a dream.
Right.
She was in there. And I go, oh. And I just felt like at that moment, I was like, I'm expecting this feeling of like, I'm going to be okay. And God's coming to me with hands and feet of people that are holding my hand, that are hugging me, that are loving me. And I needed that. And I didn't think I did. And that was such a beautiful illustration of Jesus. Like she said, I stood back as they operated and I just prayed for you. I was like, that's beautiful. I mean, that's
very cool.
It's so cool. And
I would want to have somebody I knew in there.
I had no idea.
I'm saying I would want that.
I didn't even know, though. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like, I didn't even expect that. Anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just how God showed up in people, that if I would have kept it too private, I wouldn't have been able, that situation would have
To
still
reap
happened.
the benefits, though, of people being able to help.
Yeah. And I think
encourage.
that's what the church does. And I think that when you are invested in community in your church, then you're allowing people to jump in with you in the midst of your mess, in the midst of your trauma, in the midst of your illness, in the midst of anything that you're going through.
Right.
Like, that's the beauty of the church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. Well, that's really good.
Let me ask you,
Sure.
how did you feel when I told you?
Okay, well, so you have said this.
Yeah.
Dad has said this.
Yeah.
I've had multiple people tell me this
Yeah.
in the last few months.
Okay.
That I'm somebody who apparently holds their cards close.
Okay, that's not what I said.
What?
Since you were little, honey,
Yeah.
you were just super not like, emotionally, we didn't know what you were thinking. So you can say hard, holding your cards close
Sure.
to you. So I can remember your face
Yeah.
when I told you.
Okay. Intense, I assume.
Yeah, your eyebrows went down and you were like,
Yeah. Well, but so I asked McKenna. I said, "Do you think I hold my cards close?" She goes, "Well," she goes, I
Well,
think
she's your wife too.
I know. She said, she goes, "I think you do less with me because you know, you'll process and you'll kind of state an argument, but then argue with yourself like in 3 different ways." You know, it's just she's like, but she goes, "I think probably with most things, you know, you want to think it all through, and you know, but that's something I didn't know I did."
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's like just a personality thing or what, but well, I didn't know what to think because we were literally we had people on the way, literally driving to our house at that moment.
Oh, really?
Yes. Because you guys had just stopped, and I got a call from Dad saying, "Hey, can we just stop by real quick?" And I'm like,
No, you came to our house.
No.
Oh, that's right.
And I said, "Well, we have people coming over right now." He goes, "It'll just be a minute." And I was like, "Okay."
Okay, that's a big. Sorry about that.
Well, no, I mean it's okay. You guys just wanted to tell, you know, that's fine.
I just needed to get
it was
out.
it was my in-laws, my brother and sister-in-law.
Yeah.
So it's not like we were hosting people that we didn't know. Then I didn't tell them or whatever.
Yeah.
But I felt like I couldn't like react in that moment because I was like, we have people that are going to be here in literally 2 minutes. Mm-hmm. It was obviously shocking, and I think probably the double dosage of the shock was 3 days before that we had heard that my wife's father,
Right.
because he had a surgery already, and his cancer was back.
Stage. Yeah.
And I think we had found out that it was like in the lymph nodes as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was, Ken and I went to bed that night, and I just was like, dude, how is this on both sides? Mm-hmm. So I think it was probably, the feeling was probably numb due to shock, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So
Did you struggle with anxiety or fear or like?
Well, I think initially I didn't know how to feel, if that makes sense, you know?
Yeah.
Because in one sense, I'm like, I don't want to over freak out when, you know, you guys had just told me that this is not, I know you said earlier that the doctor was like, this is the type you want to get if you're going to get it. And you were like, well, I'd rather not have any. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, obviously there are some types of cancer, and depending on the stage that they're at, that are easier to treat. Mm-hmm. And you guys had said this is easier to treat than other kinds.
Right.
So that kind of gave me a little bit of, you know, encouragement and help, and just going, okay, this is not like, hey, we just found out that A, B, C, D, and this is, you know. So I think that helped a lot. But I think probably at the time I didn't know how to process it very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just curious.
Yeah.
Because I think all you and your brother and sister, you guys all processed differently. Mm-hmm. And I knew how each one of you would react because I know you guys. And I knew that you probably wouldn't show me any emotion. Mm-hmm. I knew that Abby would show me the most emotion. And I knew that Nolan would be concerned. And like so I just kind of knew how you guys would react. But, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, I'm glad that you're cancer-free. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And thank you for doing this podcast.
Hey, babe.
Anything else you want to say?
I really love my children. Mm-hmm. And my grandchildren.
Especially this one.
No, I love them all.
Yes.
No, I'm just kidding. That's not how I want to end.
Okay.
How do I want to end?
Yeah, how do you want to end? You like my new Portland Trail Blazers hat?
I love your Portland Trail Blazers.
Got it for 30% off.
I've been a fan since 1976 when they won the World Series. Mm-hmm. Oh, no, wrong. World Championship? What did they call it in basketball? It's not World Series. Well, that's baseball.
The series at the end is called the Finals.
The Finals.
But you'd be the NBA champion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was there. I mean, I wasn't there. I was in Portland when they won the championship in 1976.
Do you mind if I just double check this?
Sure.
Okay.
And we would stick our finger out. I remember in our car, my mom's car, I'd stick my finger out and be like, we're number one. This is not how I want to end this podcast.
Okay, well, you're the one who brought it up.
Well, I know. You asked me if I liked it.
It's 1977.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But,
I was
that's
off
cool.
a year. Yeah. Because I was 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. I probably was 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks, Mom.
No,
and
this is not how we're ending.
Oh, how do you want to end?
You delete all that. Let's end on a positive note.
Let's end on a positive note.
Okay, I don't know.
Okay.
How can we end this?
Man, it's so good to see you, Mom. Glad you were here today. And if people want to follow you, check out your stuff, the link will be down below in the description.
Really?
If you want to support the podcast, if you want to learn more about how to study the Bible, there's a link down below.
I feel like this is a very weak way to end.
By the way, there actually is this thing in the description of the podcast where if you want to send me a message, it doesn't go to like my phone, it goes to this platform.
Okay.
People can send a question.
I think if you want to ask Mom a question.
Oh, yeah.
Ask Austin's mom a question.
Yep, go ahead.
Like, should I date him? Should I get married? I know this has nothing to do with theology.
Those are very specific.
Right.
Yeah.
Or should I go to school?
Okay.
Should I go to college?
Mm-hmm.
Should I learn a trade?
Mm-hmm.
Should I buy this car?
Oh, okay.
Should I go to this church?
Sure.
I think I'm available.
Mm-hmm.
I think you send the link below, or
Mm-hmm.
ask Austin's mom a question,
Mm-hmm.
and I will come back and I will answer those questions.
Absolutely. And let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Is there anything that I believe
Yeah.
that makes you a little bit worried?
Okay. Why are we?
No, Mom, I'm just kind of joking because I know that you were going to kind of react that way.
I will say this. I will say I'm super proud of the man you are. I love how you study Scripture.
Thank you.
I love how you believe what you believe.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to believe everything that I believe. That's
I don't.
okay.
Yeah.
I know you don't.
But I'm just
Austin.
saying, but here's the thing too is
Yeah.
I change my mind. Sometimes I disagree with myself.
Okay, well, there you
So,
go.
I'm not
So you're
saying
not trustworthy.
I'm saying I don't have the corner on all truth. I'm not
No,
out
I know,
here-
hon. No, I am so proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. No. Yes, I disagree with you, but that's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I think that's a good spot to end. Everybody have a great day. Thanks
Yeah.
for watching or listening to the podcast.